Hello and welcome back. This time we are going to look at a starter set, one of the many. I think this one is kind of the middle one. There's a larger box and there is a very small box as well. So this one gives you everything you need to start your own Warhammer experience or adventure, if you will. So we have lots of gray plastic models. Let me sort that a little bit. So these are Space Marine Terminators. Here we have lots of Tyrannids. And another one for the Space Marines. And these are Space Marines with flamers. More Tyrannids because it's a Horde army. And a huge monster because even a Horde army needs somebody to lead them. So that should be enough to build 2 starter armies. Tyrannids having more people, but monsters, because that's what Tyrannids are all about. Then we get some dice, because that's what the game is played with. Lots of different bases for all the models. And there are somewhere some bigger ones. Here are, by the way, a lot of markers. I'm not sure what they are good for, but there are lots of different markers, and upside down more of those. So this one here, this must be for the big Tyrannid monster. That might be for the captain or something. I don't know yet. We get lots of decals for, the shoulder pads and all the stuff for the Space Marines. Tyrannids are monsters, they don't have that. Then we get 2 rulers in inches, I hope. On one side, yeah, they look a little bit simple, but they are very flexible if you want to measure distances around corners or something. It might be a useful thing to have. And last not least, a foldable battle mat, so you can have your terrain look a little bit less gray compared to my table. So this would be one side, which looks like desert sand or something like that. And you can turn it upside down, and then you have something a little bit more industrial themed. So that's what's in the box. So maybe there's a little bit more underneath, and then we have again Tyrannids, big Tyrannids, many of those, even more. This is actually a double, so half of that looks very much like it belongs to one of the Tyrannid monsters, and this one here is probably the captain for the Space Marines. So gotta cut those into 2, and that works very simple because this box is kind of meant to be shared amongst 2 players. So now we get a handbook and some data sheets. The description was written that it is a simplified data sheet, but this is how the models work. So you have the data sheets for, Van Ryan Leapers, Termagants, those are the smaller ones. And here we have the big ones. So that is for one side, and the others here are the Space Marines. The Infernus guys are the ones with flamers, and then we have the Terminators and the Captain, the heavily armored guys, and their statistics on those data sheets are actually, so you know what those people can do, or the monsters can do, what they're capable of, and how to use them. And the handbook was promised to have some more explanation and some rules. And we have missions here. Space Marine, turn 1, what to do, how to move. That should be all here. The usual introduction of what models you have and what they represent. And in the beginning it's how to build, how the instruction works, and then the instructions themselves, how to assemble all the models. And that looks very much like compared to what I had before for the Death Guard, with this color coded. This part is here and it's blue here, and where it goes, and then the next part's blue again, which part here and there, and so that should be easy enough to find the parts that are actually needed and to glue them in the proper way. I think that's very, very beginner friendly. What is not here is any choices. That is usually included as well. If you have parts that can be swapped, like different weapons, you have to choose either or. That is usually marked in green, but I think those are all push fit, the a little bit simplified models, so there's probably no choice. You just build whatever is in the box, and that's about it. So a bit of a closer look at the data sheet. This is how units are defined in this game. And you see here, this is representing the model itself with its movement in inches, and then everything else is points. Toughness is like how strong the armor is. Save is what you have to roll to avoid being wounded by enemy fire. Wounds is how many wounds you can take until the model is destroyed. We have a leadership value, and OC is objective control, that if this model is on an objective, how many points it brings to secure an objective. And then we have the weapons. So ranged weapons is everything that is firing at range, guns, cannons, flamers, that sort of stuff. Showing here the range again in inches, how many attacks, the ballistic skill, the strength, and the armor protection, and how much damage the thing is doing. And then we have the same again for melee weapons. These ones have all power fists. This guy has a sword. So that's again how many attacks, weapon skill, how hard you hit them, and AP, again the enemy armor, or the save roll of the enemy basically, is being reduced by 2 in this case, -2. So the enemy has to roll even higher to get away unharmed, and if they get harmed again, the damage shows how many points they are losing. So this is basically how one unit is operating, what they can do, how they can shoot, how they can move, and how much. So the basic values basically for that. And they all have some sort of extra rules. That is what the game is all about. So They have their factions here. So they are obviously the Astartes from the Imperium, and here it's written that this is infantry, Terminator, and the Terminator squad. That shows up somewhere in the rules here and there. If you are a Terminator, then some things like that. So this is more of a character or a definition of the model or the unit. And here we have the same thing for Tyranids, and yeah, you can see they don't have so many weapons since they are monsters. So this one only has close combat melee weapons, but it can move a lot faster. The Terminators had a movement allowance of 5 inches. This one here has 10, so that's kind of quick. And this one here doesn't really fit, but the little ones, they have a 6-inch range. And here we are somewhere in the middle with 8 for one of the bigger ones. And he has a psychic ability for range combat, 12 inches in distance, so it's not really a long range thing. Those guys obviously have to get close to use their claws and talons and whatnot to attack anybody, while the Space Marines usually can keep their distance and shoot from further away. But then again, they cannot stay further away because sooner or later you have to get onto objectives and so forth. So we will see that once we can start playing. But this is basically the character of all the units and their abilities that are written here, and the rules is like how to apply those abilities and all the properties that those models actually have. And here we have a quick look at some of the models again. This one being the captain, and you can see there's a nice lot of detail on it, and yeah, that's gonna be a cute one. And here we have the guys with flamers, Infernus Marines, I think they are called. You can see they have these pegs here, and I think on the inside there should be the same pegs and holes to just push them together. I didn't touch those, as you can see, yet, but that is usually something you should really try, because sometimes that is really a little bit too tight. So you might have to cut the pegs a little bit shorter or sand them down a little bit so you can get everything together properly. And I think it's better to take off a little bit of those parts and use glue instead. But the idea of everything is that you don't have to use glue at all. I'm not sure how many arms would fall off in battle then, but yeah, that should be as easy as possible. And here are the others. They are really nice. Lots of detail on those. I have the older one somewhere, so it's obviously primed in black, but I hope you can see this a little bit. So they're a lot simpler. Like when you look at here, the carapace and the scales and stuff, it's not so much on those models here compared to the other ones. So this is the same type of model, this Termagons, but those are the newer versions and they look a lot better. Maybe I should collect Tyranids. So one of the larger models of Tyranids, again, looks pretty nice. And they should be pushed together as well. So this looks like the center piece of the body. And here we have two parts that are probably left and right going here. Just guessing, of course. And the arm has one longer peg and one shorter here on on those. So yeah, I would think they go here and here and are pushed through and hold everything together. I never really tried that. I don't have Tyranids, and other models that are actually push fit I just glued anyway. So, but might be worth trying out how well they stick together without any glue. So yeah, but they look really cool. And that was a double, I think. Yeah, there are at least two of the same sprues of that one, and here we have the biggie. The problem with Tyranids is to figure out which side is up. But since this is some sort of smoke or flames coming out of these whatever vents, probably something poisonous, yeah, it's probably supposed to look like this. This one here is the right orientation. And even more of those medium-sized ones. I think this is Van Ryan, or I really never built Tyranids or something. I never looked into those. But yeah, you can see body, and another body. So that is probably making for 3 models again. So yeah, lots of stuff to build. And I think that will be the next step, building models like crazy to get an army on the table. And here we have the cool guys. There is separate this Homer for dropping from the reserves. So you can have this Homer beacon where your unit is supposed to drop. They have the ability somewhere on their data sheets again. That's called Deep Strike in this case, I would think. And that means then, yeah, you can just not set them up in the beginning of the game or something, and then they will just drop from the spaceship in the atmosphere later in the game, being a nasty surprise for your opponents, of course. Yeah, shoulder pads, these pauldrons here, they are included. That's one I like molded into. That's one of the differences to standard kit that you could buy. If you buy the normal set of 5 of those Terminators, you get more of the smaller parts separate, and you could choose. They all have the same shoulder pauldrons here, and there is not much of variation or the way to swap those for something else. Just looking out for heads, but they're there. So they are all with a helmet, and there is no choice for a head without a helmet, which is something else that you might find in other kits. Yeah, that looks good. And the flaming hot guys once more, but I think they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heads, and yeah, here's one. This one here has actually no helmet. By the way, I like those flamers. They look really a little bit bigger than the normal ones that I had on other models before. These ones look a little bit more serious. I mean, as you would expect from from the Terminators. They should have something a little bit more substantial. Yeah, sorry, those were the Infernus Marines, so they don't even have Terminator armor. But this one here, like this Gatling cannon, that is what you want to see on Terminators. And when I look around, so they all have the Stormbolters, these twin barrel thingies, and at least one has a special weapon. And that's about it. So that is another thing that is a little bit simplified as compared to other kits. That is written here. Wait a second. Yeah, that's why that is called the simplified datasheet. Oops. So on this datasheet here, they have only those weapons are actually included. Stormbolters and the assault cannon for at least one. And that's it. And if you have the complete version, like the big codex for Space Marines and the complete kit, then you have more weapon options. If you want to use this, would be another question, but there would be options there. This would be the datasheet for the Space Marines Codex, and you can see there's the cannon, but they also have a missile launcher and a heavy flamer option. So, like here it's written, for every 5 models, one Terminator can swap to a special weapon. That is very common, and that is where you would need a different kit for that, and a different datasheet. But this is included in the codex for Space Marines, those guys here. So, but for now you have to excuse me, because I have a lot of brand new shiny gray plastic, and I really need to assemble some of those models because I want to see the Terminators and how they look compared to other Marines. So see you in the next one. I'm gonna build some power armor.